Hi everybody, this is my second video in this series of videos about game design for gamification designers. So what I will be trying to do today is talk about a little bit about two concepts that are important in terms of game design and that can be used on gamification. One is farming and one is the black box. And I'm going to show how we should migrate from farming mechanics to black box mechanics. I've done a first video about the game mechanics. If you want to see it, it might give you some lights into what I'm going to talk here about. So you should check it in my LinkedIn profile. It must be the previous post to this one. So let's dig in. So we're going to talk first about farming and then we're going to talk about the black box mechanics, so to try to understand the difference in terms of game play and game experience. Because in gamification, much of the lazy design that's done in gamification is based on farming mechanics. What are farming mechanics? Farming mechanics are a type of game mechanic that you can repeat multiple times, getting the same results just to, for example, loot different rewards, and it's based on that concept of rewarding the player with stuff, and that's something that you will see constantly in gamification, talking about how to reward players. And game design is much more than just about rewarding players, as we will see in different videos. In terms of farming, what will you have? So we will have a hypothetical player. This will be Octopus Man, and this player will have to make a series of behaviors. We have three possible behaviors this Octopus Man can do to get some rewards, and this is the idea of that this behavior, it will give 2 coins, for example. This can be the reward, 3 coins for this behavior, and this coin will be this behavior will give 1 coin. What can this be? It can be anything. For example, let's say this one is for liking a product, this one is for commenting on a product, and this one is for creating a whole review around the product. So in my, I don't know, my online store, I want to create those behaviors and I want to incentivize them by creating farming mechanics. So the player will do several times the same behavior. That's the idea behind the farming mechanics. What will happen is the following. Each one of these actions have this number. This is a number that the player won't know at first, and it's the effort the player will try to put into the action to actually gain the reward. So what will happen here is, and let's say these are the real efforts, because I could do a bad review, not do quality reviewing, and I could lower my effort, but let's forget about that for now. Let's try just to see what happens here. So what could happen in this game scenario? What I will try to do is say, okay, so reviewing will give me 3 coins, and then our players will not be mathematicians and perfect optimizers of the action. So mainly they will see the rewards and say, okay, let's try to do a reward. So I will spend these 4 tokens. These 4 tokens are my exhaustion points, for to say something, and I will place them here and I will get 3 coins. So yay! In this moment, my dopamine will spike. I will feel a rush of happiness because I got a great reward for doing a good job. Now I will bring these cubes back here and I will have to do another move. In real life, that's what we have our users doing. They have to do game moves in different moments of time. So in my next game move, that can be the next day or later that same day, that depends on the whole dynamics of the platform, they want to do something else. So they know that in the same day, if they spend this time and this effort doing another review, they won't be able to comment or like, for example. So what they will try to do is try to optimize the game and try to find a balance on the game. They will try to explore which mechanics are better. Maybe they will try to do both times this same behavior because it's a behavior that pays off a lot, and so they got another 3 coins, and that's great. But what will happen here is when you do farming mechanics, the quantity of dopamine that will spike the next time will be lower than the first time. That's called a hedonic adaptation. Our brains don't like doing repetitive stuff once and over again and over again and over again. So this same action will not be as appealing next time. So let's say we have these coins. The player spends the coins. Let's bring them back here. So now the player wants to try something new. They will gum here and will try to do this behavior. They have a little effort left, so they will do a couple of times this behavior. They will do they will like 2 products and make 1 comment, for example, with the same level of effort that they did a review. So what will happen here? Now the player will get again 3 points or coins or something with the same amount, more or less the same amount of effort. So it's not better to do this than to do the other thing around. So now what can happen here? Now I have here two exhaustion points, so actually I get 4 points. Now the equation has moved because with the same amount of effort I actually won 1 additional coin. What this will do in our brain is, okay, I will spike my dopamine again, but now my optimizer brain will understand that making these 2 behaviors is actually better to acquire quickly my reward. So I will start, or better, I will stop doing this behavior that was a high-end behavior, because it's actually better for me just to try and do more of these ones. Maybe I can even do this behavior 4 times, give a lot of likes, and I will get the same amount of points with less effort. So this skews the behaviors of our players. This skews the behaviors of our users in ways that we might not want to skew them, because we don't want them to make reviews. So we can change this effort, but that's not as easy. It's easily said and done. But when they're doing 4 times this behavior again, you will have hedonic adaptation, and you will get less dopamine per action done with time. One of the ways to stop this from happening in farming mechanics is to actually create a reward that has some kind of drop rate. For example, we have this sword and it has a 5% drop rate. So in this case, what I will do is I will take here from my magic box my 100-sided die, my percentile dice, and I will try to do 1 action, for example here, and it has only a 5% probability of acquiring this sword. So I got a 28, so I didn't got the sword. What will happen here is my dopamine will spike because of this reward, but will actually be frustrated for this one. And so it will have some kind of fixed feelings. What will the player do? If they want this reward, they will start trying to optimize that reward by repeating the behavior, and again I will be able to roll my dice, again, so 42, and I roll again, and I have a 35, and I roll again, and I have a 04. This is quite lucky for me, because I was able to get the reward, and in this moment my dopamine will spike again. So I had my dopamine low because I was repeating a lot of behaviors, but I was able to spike again my dopamine because I got a really rare reward. So we can try to manipulate farming mechanics and make them better by creating these kind of rewards that go into this variable interval schedule designs, which is all about operant conditioning. So what will happen here? What will happen here is the player will continue the behavior for more time when this sword is present, but still there will be this hedonic adaptation, and my dopamine will start going down. The other thing that will happen is that each time I do this, I start feeling that I'm repeating my behavior. So the thing that I thought was play at the beginning of the game will start feeling more and more as work, until I feel that going for these rewards actually is work. I have to print effort to get some coins. I'm working for my rewards. I'm not playing, because there's no strategy anymore. There's just optimization. So here is the equation for farming mechanics. You have a behavior that gives a reward directly. I create a behavior, I get a reward. And what will happen is that when you go towards work, the quality of the time I spent on the activity will feel like it's going lower. I will lose the sensation that my time is well spent. And that's a problem, because if I have a huge red button and I can press it to gain $1 for each time I press it, I will lose interest in that behavior really quickly, because it's not about the reward, it's also about the equation on how I'm spending my time getting that reward. So I prefer to win less money on more interesting activities. So this kind of design will lose interest really quickly, and if you don't have variable interval rewards, you might lose interest of your players in around 3 months. If you have this kind of designs, it can go over a year, but it depends on the design itself. But this will create something that's called behavioral extinction, and you don't want that because you are actually demotivating your players on the long run. So now we will have to see what happens with the black box.